Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vogue India and the Natural Diamond Council's Diamond Festival, the online edit. I am Priya Tanna, editor in chief of Vogue India, and I have to confess, Diamond's best friend. And our panelists joining us today, like all panelists, normally need no introduction, but I'm going to give them one anyway. Today, our eminent panel will be discussing how fashion designers are slowly but surely and steadily making a very natural and organic transition to designing fine diamond jewelry. It's really interesting because as far as creativity goes, lines are blurring. And I'm always interested to know how a certain aesthetic that applies to one discipline like fashion translates into another like jewelry. Our first panelist today is an avant-garde designer who filters fashion through a very fantastical lens. And that's literally why we love him, for staying so true to his signature style and vision. He almost brings his very own element of extraordinary to jewelry as well. Gaurav Gupta Occasions Fine Jewelry has been yet another feather in this couture's cap. Hi Gaurav, thanks for joining me today.
Hi Priya, how are you? Thanks for having me here.
And my other panelist today is literally India's greatest export to American fashion. He started his own couture brand in 2009 in New York. And years later, he's reached a really fine place when you see a carousel of powerful women like Jennifer Lopez, Angelina Jolie, Michelle Obama, and Priyanka Chopra Jonas regularly wearing his creations. In fact, what's very, very interesting is that he was amongst the first to branch out into diamonds with his collaboration for Forever Mark. He created his first ever jewelry line called Artemis. Hi, Bibhu. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bibhu.
Thank you for having me here, and it's so lovely to see you and Gaurav. Just want to reach out and hug you guys.
Virtual hugs coming your way. Okay, I'm going to start off. My first question literally goes to both of y'all. But Gigi, I'm going to start with you first. I could have never imagined, and forgive me for saying this, I could not have imagined you in jewelry. And when did this happen? When did you build a relationship with jewelry and fine diamond jewelry? When did that interest sort of come about? Was there an event? Was there a person that inspired you? What led to this incredible pivot?
I think I have a crazy interest in everything around me, especially anything which is designed and everything. I tend to see everything around me, and I want to design it all. So it's an innate need that I have. It actually happened at one of our shows together where we did, it was I think our Vogue Atelier shows, and Occasions Fine Jewelry was the jewelry partner for one of the shows that we did together with Vogue. And I saw their jewelry and our clothes together, and I was like, oh, this is really working well. And because I really like their craftsmanship, and for years and years, we get all of these bridal images from all our clients, and so many couture clients, and even especially the Indian ones, or even all kinds of clients. And I look at the picture, and what irks me immediately is the jewelry. And I'm like, okay, she's got the hair and makeup right now, and she's got the set design, she's got everything going for her, and suddenly the jewelry is almost like it's too dated. And it's not even heritage. There's no thought process gone behind it. So I just, so it was like became like a natural progression for us to complete the look, to say so. And I just feel like there's so much thought that goes behind couture. Couture is the actual birth of ideas, the birth of, the purity of design, and the purity of art is there. And that for me was getting really cheapened by very commercial jewelry. And I wanted to start a new language in precious jewelry altogether.
And you have. I mean, I saw some of it at the wedding show, I remember, and it's such a natural extension of what you do with your clothes. I can see it. I could tell this is Gaurav Gupta and natural diamonds coming together in this incredible partnership. But Bibhu, tell me about you. What led you to this journey? Was any of it sentimental? Was some of it technical? Tell me about your journey with diamonds.
Well, before it was diamonds, it was jewelry, right? So as we three of us, we can agree on that it's our culture. It's emotional. It's that ability to connect with jewelry. I always tell the story of this red portly that my mother had always, but never showed us. And after much years of nagging, then she opened it once. It's like, okay, here you go. And it was a bunch of jewelry, some precious, some semi-precious, some are mangled up. Clearly some are, now I know they're really old. And it said, there you go, this is been handed over to me by your grandmother. And this is all the women in your family, in our family, that have worn it. And I said, Mom, why don't you wear them? She's like, well, I revere them, and plus they're sort of so delicate and precious, I didn't want to wear them. So they are kept really, you can't touch them. They're so precious. And so that's sort of the first time I felt like I met all the women in my family. And so that was the power. And I was, 15 years old. And fast forward, New York, studying in fashion, and all that was there. But as I was working with clients, it always like, okay, how do you finish the look? Not unlike how Gaurav said, it's always to, what that one piece of diamond, or whether it's a stud or an elaborate necklace or something that sort of they always look for to complete the looks, the client. So, and I didn't have anything. Sometimes they would show up with a tray of jewels, like, okay, can we do something, design something based on this? So it meant a lot more than just a piece of accessory for them. And so it was over the year I realized that jewelry, and especially natural diamond jewelry, they have a power to connect and tell the story, and they drive a lot of things in their lives. So years ago, like 6-7 years ago, I was having a coffee with Mr. Sachin Jain, MD of De Beers India. We're just chit-chatting, brainstorming, and that's the first conversation we had with some friends, and thereby expressed that I want to have a jewelry collection, fine jewelry, natural diamond jewelry collection, but it has to be meaningful, something that is accessible. I don't want to do it for PR. And so that's the very beginning of my sort of flirtation with fine jewelry, natural diamond jewelry.
But people tell me, and then I'm going to ask the same question to Gigi, because obviously the most obvious question is, both of you have such a strong sartorial voice and language that is so unique to both of y'all. There is no homogenization as far as your signature style is concerned. Just as I can tell a Gaurav Gupta gown, I can tell a Bibhu gown on the red carpet from another. How much of your design estate did you dip into to create the jewelry? How much of it is an extension of what you do with clothes? And how much of it was a fresh idea or a fresh language that you guys turned to, and you realize that, okay, I have a certain style as far as clothes are concerned, but hey, with jewelry, I seem to be moving into a slightly more interesting, different direction? Or was it just a natural extension of what you do on the red carpet and the runway? So Bibhu, you go first.
Sure. For me, that very challenge of not being trained as a jeweler, right? So not having all the technical acumen for me to sort of put together, sort of turned into my sort of goal to how to sort of go about it. So I started with something that spoke with me, something completely crazy, and the same philosophy. I always say my clothes are a study of juxtaposition of opposites, and so really gravity defying designs that sort of probably technically huge challenges. So the first round started like that, something that spoke to me and how I would approach a cloth that I fall in love with, that I discovered, just simply like that. I didn't have the pillars of technically strong background in fine jewelry. So I sort of gave them a bunch of sketches, and the De Beers design team in Milan, they were very kind. They worked with me and the Forever Mark team. They figured out how to sort of support with the technical ideas behind it. So I would say, simply answering your question, is I approach it the same way as I would approach if I see a piece of fabric or an idea comes, or if I look at a piece of architecture, how I would create something of which is clothing is my world. So that's how I approached it, without much thinking or planning of technicalities behind a first piece of jewelry.
What about you, Gaurav? Does the same process apply to you? What is it like for you?
So, my processes of design in general are very, very abstract. And I don't like to limit myself in any way or box myself in any way. So for me, it's like I would literally sometimes close myself in a room or sit in a park and just write words to myself. And that's how my brainstorming happens. And that's like, for me, that feeling that my art would give, be it fashion or jewelry, that feeling is very, very important. So it would be a feeling of fantasy, of flight, of wonderment, of a new world or a parallel world. Because for me, I'm always living in that world, right? So I'm just like, how can I create that world for the rest of the world as well? So literally, as like, just like Bibhu, I'm not trained in jewelry at all, and I don't know the technicalities. I even wanted, even just knowing the different shapes in which diamonds is cut in, because you have to have that basic knowledge, which I sat down and learned. Okay, deciphering, looking at different jewelry pieces and saying, okay, this is what a round cut is, or this is what a rose cut is, and this is how technically things happen, and then seeing how can I mess it up. So I would like, how can I create a new tulip shaped diamond, or a asteroid shaped diamond, and how can I do different settings, etc. But more than that, I think it kind of, for me, the concept was really important. So if you actually see some of our jewelry pieces, which look like as if there is a lot of surrealism in them. So they are all named like a fountain necklace, or a liberation suite, or the effervescence suite. So it's all very, very thematic. It kind of seems like costume pieces, but it's like what we are trying to create is a new art jewelry heritage, which would be taken, because they're almost like the art jewelry pieces, which would then be passed on to generations.
But I love that, Gaurav. What I love is that I think a lot of us grew up with natural diamond jewelry being treated as too precious. And we use them for occasions, and we use them for weddings, and they were kept away in vaults and stuff like that. And I love that when designers like yourselves contemporize them and bring them out of those vaults, what you are doing is keeping a certain amount of preciousness intact, but making them such a strong piece of self-expression, such a strong piece of fashion. It is so much more than just shiny jewelry. You know what I'm saying? And that's exciting. That's really exciting, personally, for me. But what's not exciting for me is when I see some unfortunate brides who look like unfortunate victims. There's just too much of everything happening. You see too much jewelry, you see too much clothes. And I think both of you know this more than me, but balancing couture and natural diamond jewelry sometimes can be tricky. What is your starting point when you get a bride? What is your starting point when you get a client who is trying to marry the two? Is the diamond the starting point? Is the dress the starting point? How do you make sure one doesn't really overshadow the other? And more importantly for me, how neither overshadow the woman who's wearing them? So I want to know that. Bibhu, any thoughts?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think it, from my experience, it happens in all different ways. Sometimes they would come in, and they would come in with a bag filled with the family heirloom jewelry, and then the challenge becomes like, okay, come up with additional modern jewelry that goes with this, and come up with designs of clothing for different events. So, which works. But again, as you as you rightfully pointed out, it's all about striking that ultimate balance where the bride looks like she's more of herself than completely shrouded with a lot of clothes or a lot of anything. So sometimes they come in because they want to sort of represent their heritage, their family's heritage. It becomes really personal and emotional. It has also happened, and that's the way I have seen some incredible natural diamonds that I have never seen. Maybe in some museums, those pieces would arrive and they're just cut and polished, and with some drawings, what they're planning to do with that, and we start with those, and whether it's just that or mixed with other diamonds or pave elements or other yellow colored diamonds mixed with it. So the whole process starts simultaneously, the clothes and the jewelry, whether it's that diamond, one singular diamond driven, or it's a bunch of heritage jewelry driven. So my role as a creative collaborator with any of these clients or any of my clients to really show them what they could look like without losing themselves, whether it's just a simple dress they're buying or they're buying a piece of jewelry and the whole wardrobe for their wedding. So I treat it as a true collaboration, and sometimes my job is to sort of guide them not to get swallowed, not to get consumed by the power of these pieces, whether it's that piece of clothing that they're going for or that piece of jewelry. So helping them find that balance, that they can own that decision for themselves, is sort of a big part of the job, really.
Gigi, what about you?
So, yes, I completely agree with Bibhu there. The thing is, so to simply put it, is that what the client and I together fall in love with first. We would pick up, it could be a color of a gown or a garment. It could be a thought, it could be a feeling that the client wants to portray, or, because it's almost like the collaboration between the two minds and between the client's mind and my philosophies coming together. And that's why she is coming to me, and that's why the whole family is coming to me. And then we could go like, okay, we really want your sculpting technique on the neck, and we want that wider neck so that we're able to wear your fountain necklace with it. Sometimes the clients already knows these days with Instagram and with so much exposure to our brand, they're like, this is what we want. And that's when the collaboration begins, where I would say, okay, why don't you try this instead of this? And why don't you, because I love to see them also playing fancy dress within my stores and like trying out a few different things, and then we balance the look together. There could be some clients who are able to carry OTT. They could be a Cleopatra kind of a personality, or they could be somebody a bit more demure, and so it's a different personality. So then I think it's kind of, as you talk to within that 1 hour or that consultation and a few consultations down the line, we develop this relationship of trust, of excitement, of newness, of exploration, and that's how we balance it out.
Lovely. But here's an honest question for both of you. Did this direction of designing jewelry come from the heart, or was it a strategic business decision? Did you feel that as designers of a certain repute and of more than a fair share of success, this was the natural progression for you? Was it a strategic business decision to diversify? Do you feel this is the way forward for your contemporaries and others in the industry?
Like I said earlier, it was a completely purely emotional exploration. That's how it started. What is it about that, and what is that last element that completes a look for anyone, whether it's just simply a piece of accessories. And when we're talking about fine jewelry, it's a lot more it's a world that was completely for me to uncover, right? So I was always slowly, it was in my mind ever since that red portly thing happened at home. Always wanted to sort of explore that side of it, but I knew that that's not my world, and so I wanted to partner with an institution whose brand and brand ethos really lined up with mine, because as we know, the diamonds have always been associated with a lot of stigma, and for me, I was very sensitive to that as well. So when my first that coffee sit down happened in Mumbai with Sachin Jain and team of Forever Mark, that was the very beginning of an idea. What if I had a fine jewelry line? Who am I catering it to? And what's the point of it? And I have a very dear friend of mine here who has Waris Ahluwalia. He's done some incredible stuff and is very close to me. And he did some iconic pieces for Forever Mark with some important diamonds. And it's one piece and it gets written about and everything, which I loved. But that's not exactly the path I wanted to do. I wanted to have a premium collection, but then derivations of it, which would complete the entire collection. That would be that would have some entry price points, sharper price points, so that it's more accessible. And so that was the idea behind Artemis 1, when my fine jewelry line for Forever Mark. And after conversing for 2 years with DBR's team and Forever Mark team, I realized that, okay, this is a brand I can associate with, because they assured me that these natural diamonds are rare and unique, and they're responsibly sourced, and they are that's the best. They're the best partners. So as I explored and Artemis came about, we started making proto. Then by that time, the business reality of it sort of also sunk in, that okay, this could be a brand extension for me, so that I can agree to go on this, whatever many years of contract I have with them. So that came later, but the beginning of it was always, how can I take that moment I had with my mother, with our family heirloom jewelry? How can I give something my client base that they would be able to tell their stories as they hand it on to these pieces of jewelry to their daughters or granddaughters?
People, it all sounds so romantic. I'm almost imagining you launching a collection called the Red Portly line.
I know.
We could both carry our mother's portlies and take out all the jewelry which they've never shown us, or which we have secretly seen. We've convinced them, and then just take it out bit by bit and be like, wow, I have finally seen it.
But Gigi, what I want to talk to you about is, I still remember the storm that took over India when we were first exposed to Gaurav Gupta's clothes. And I don't think India had ever seen an aesthetic like this. It was such a strong, unique language, such a strong, unique signature. And either people loved it, and those who didn't grew to love it. There were just like two categories of people. You have brought that same avant-garde fearlessness to your jewelry. And for the traditional Indian woman who at the time of her wedding wants to wear her line of, solitaires and all, may not be searching for like a massive feather or, the stuff that you do so beautifully. As people in fashion, we love it. We revel in it. We understand your imagination and your fantasy. Was it a tricky journey getting people to understand your aesthetic in terms of jewelry, or were you just surprised by how ready people were, towards it?
So, the thing is, I've already been in the industry for 16 years now. And over this time, I have been a part of the change and been the change, and the market has also changed. So everything has culturally moved so fast, especially in the last 4, 5, 7 years, that people are much more receptive towards newer ideas, towards designs, towards progressive school of thought. And now they understand the value of design and not just and the value of craftsmanship, the value of thought that goes behind design. There's a lot of so I think that mind shift has already happened. So now that the new Indian bride or is looking for something that represents her and is not just a string of solitaires. She would love the string of solitaires with, let's say, this necklace of mine called plume necklace, which would have the solitaires, but the plume, and it's an asymmetric necklace, which because she wants to be a part of a new design language. She wants to be a part of a new fantasy. She wants to be a part of a new culture. And she's very much a part of that culture as well. And that new confidence is what drives it. And there's a balance. Yes, it is a challenge, because yes, the father or the father-in-law comes and says that iski value kya hai or iska resale value kya hoga, and all of those challenges come, and we have, to answer your earlier question, we have balance. It all started with a very romantic, obsessive school of thought that I have towards all design. And it all starts from a very puristic school of thought, and then you balance it out to in a structured business and a strategy way, where you go like, okay, I am giving equal, if not more, value in this necklace which is costing 25, 30, 35 lakhs, and in the market she could get something maybe for 20% cheaper, but this has that new design value, and it has that or sometimes it's very competitive prices, and she has to be able to wear it again, and let me make it wearable so that she's able to take off the brooch and wear it, and just wear the strings and wear it, or give it dramatic earrings, or which are semi removable, so that she's able to dress it up or dress it down. So I have had such a beautiful journey with jewelry, where it has kind of started from I don't know, Athena or Cleopatra in my head, then gone to like people actually wearing it, and then the thing is, she's looking for that newness. She wants to make that statement. She wants to own the new heritage, because, and also especially with me, because all my clients wear me for the engagements, receptions, or sangeet or cocktails, all the auxiliary other events during their wedding times, other than the wedding day. So they tend to wear natural diamonds for all of these events, and not the polki sets. So for that, they want to make that new statement now. I could show you one of the necklaces.
Let's see.
So this is the fountain necklace. I don't know if you can see it.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
Oh my
That's a
god,
beauty.
that's gorgeous.
So it literally is like a fountain that comes out.
I almost feel she doesn't need to wear any bridal clothes at all with this.
So beautiful.
It's stunning. It's stunning. So I'm going to move from my questions to slightly more lighter questions, because I think this is really what
I feel like wearing it myself.
Or turn it and make it into a tiara.
Yeah, it's of course to make it like multifunctional, no? So then
Why not?
Do you both remember the first piece you guys designed? Tell me a little bit about it. Gaurav, you go first.
So the first jewelry natural diamonds piece that I designed was actually the liberation necklace, because for me, I remember sitting in Bombay, and I had a meeting with the jewelers, a design meeting in like 2-3 days, and I was just sitting in one of my apartments in Bombay, and I was just doing rough sketches of how I want a necklace to feel like, and I literally drew just wings of, and it had to be that specific, and then it evolved into, it has to be that moment captured in time of almost like a beautiful larger dove taking off, and then all the details captured over layers. So I became obsessive with the idea of, then I started looking around, and there was all the wing necklaces that I ever saw in history were very, very stiff. And then I was like, no, it has to be flexible. Actually every element in our liberation necklace is movable. So it's like a skeleton that moves, and it is full of, and it has 8,000 diamonds. So it's one of those really couture art jewelry pieces. So we started with a very very, very puristic school of thought where I, like Bibhu said, that I want the most, I'm coming up with, I want this necklace, I want this. So it was like I'm going crazy with all kinds of ideas. And then uh, my partners very graciously have tolerated that and celebrated that. And they have been able to, I'm just amazed at how they have been able to make those things into reality. And now, as we are extending in time, we are obviously expanding our suites into, toned down, toned up versions, etc. as well.
What about you, Bibhu? Which was the first piece you designed?
I would say the first piece is the main three pieces for Artemis 1, which sort of started from so the Vedic scriptures of the alignment of sun, moon, and stars, and how they determine two individuals and their compatibility and their life together, whether they're friends, mother, father, whatever their relationship might be. So that was the first piece with these elements of sun, moon, and stars. With usually it's a big center diamond and surrounded with smaller ones, and then some pave with settings of yellow, white, and rose gold, with a lot of sketches and a lot of ideas, and somewhere sort of massive, somewhere sort of very sort of big pieces, but some also had movements. What helped me is really, I have a very good friend in England with, they have a house in the country, and so they have a vault in the family house, and I knew there are some amazing things are there, and some of them we all have seen being worn and in museums. So my friend opened the vault once, and he had to go through the kitchen. And it's a room, it's with blue velvet everywhere. It's, I guess, from 1700s. And there are pieces that were designed, that's where I really got to know the technicalities, how, as Gaurav was saying, they would have different uses. And there's a collapsible jewelry pieces that are necklaces with like massive diamonds, and then you break them up and they become earrings and a bracelet. The settings or how they did this, they were mostly platinum, and how they were sort of the mechanism behind them were quite interesting to me. And my father was an engineer, and so I have that side of my mind always works with clothing. So all those sort of came into play when I was designing the first piece for Artemis, first three pieces. Those became the sort of red carpet pieces, and from there we developed I would say like 17 more pieces. They were more sort of commercial in nature, but taking elements of them. I just had a great time. It's a great learning experience about diamonds and how they sort of work with each other, different shapes and different colors. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Talking about shapes, do you boys have a favorite diamond shape? I mean, you go from emerald and baguettes and trillions and the round and the princess and the cushions. Do you have a favorite shape? Bibhu?
Baguettes, the rectangulars.
Love. Gigi?
For me, the pear shape, or we actually developed the new tulip kind of shapes.
Oh, beautiful.
So this is a kaleidoscope earring, and that is, it's
Wow, it's beautiful.
it's a ear cuff come earring. So I think I love all the geometric, little bit slightly futuristic shapes, and this actually comes. So this is the flexibility I was talking about.
This has that mechanism.
Yeah, and then it comes as a earring come ear cuff.
Gaurav, this is very you.
It is very you. It's beautiful, Gaurav.
I want to wear it now. Yeah.
Boys, my next question to you is, if a woman could wear only one piece of jewelry, what should it be? Gigi?
I think it should be the ring that she and her lover, of whatever kind she has chosen, have planned together.
Bibhu?
I would say a pendant Possibly, I was going to say a pair of earrings, but she may not have pierced earrings, and people get worried if it's clip-ons with massive diamonds. So, pair of earrings, probably something. It could be as simple as a stud of natural diamonds that would sort of go with making it. The whole idea that you both were talking about, making natural diamonds a little less precious, and hence looking at it with a modern lens where young women like you, Priya, would go to lunch and just throw on your denim jacket and wear those chandelier earrings that Gaurav just showed, or not chandelier, what do you call them? Like
They're the kaleidoscope earrings.
kaleidoscope earrings, or they could be just simple studs. So taking the natural diamonds a little less serious is the way to see it in the more modern way.
I couldn't agree more. I think we need to bring them out of those bowls and wear them every day. And my absolute last question to both of y'all is that if you could get anyone in the world to wear your natural diamond jewelry collection, who would be that ideal muse? Bibhu?
Oh, it's a super easy one. It would be Michelle Obama, because, and I've had this conversation with her, because as I was negotiating with Forever Mark De Beers that whole agreement, you can only imagine how intense it was. It was at the last end of it, and then Michelle Obama decided to go to India wearing one of my outfits, and so it was everywhere, the press-wise. And that's when they said, like, okay, let's just speed it up, and that sort of did it. So the last party at the White House, when they were leaving the White House, I actually had some moment. I told her, like, look, not only you helped me with all these things, but this is what happened with my jewelry collection, and you are the one who sort of did it. And I wanted to dress you in my fine jewelry, but you were in the White House because there are limitations what she could wear. Now she can. Now she can wear that necklace that Gaurav showed, and with those earrings, and she doesn't have to worry about. But then there were rules and regulations, so we couldn't really dress her in fine jewelry. But she would be one person that I would love to start with.
I love her. I absolutely love her. Gigi, what about you?
Wait, let me. This is always a very tricky question for me because I don't have a one person situation. I have, like, for me, it is that person. For me, there is a, and I've always struggled with that because I feel like when people are wearing Gaurav Gupta or anything from my brand, they are actually exploring a certain side to themselves, which is almost like a hidden side in which I see, which would be in you, Priya, which would be in so many. It is a certain side to your brain or to your fantasy, and for me is the actual muse than one specific person.
That sounds really interesting to Gigi. I'm so glad we had this conversation. I can't tell you how interesting and illuminating and fun this has been. And why haven't the three of us ever chatted together before? I think we make a great combination. We must do.
Bibhu, we have so many things in common, Bibhu. My dad also studied engineering. And like one of my suites in my jewelry collection is called the Artemis Suite. And I just like, it's crazy. I'm just like, what is happening?
Thank you so much, Gaurav, and thank you so much, Bibhu, for taking the time out to speak to Vogue India for this our very first online Diamond Fest, in partnership with NDC. And it's truly exciting to see the ever-evolving relationship Indian women have with diamonds. The one thing just never changes is the eternal love. But thank you for all your beautiful words, your wisdom, and your wit. And I can't wait to see what you both do next. Lots of love.